All right, good evening. I'm Joey and I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be here, grateful to be sober. Congrats to everyone, Chips, birthdays, newcomers. Man, this is the best place that I've come to know after struggling for a really long time, man, in back and forth, in and out. So let's see where what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So, I born and raised locally. I'm a local boy. Had a really good upbringing as a kid. Had everything I wanted. Did all right through high school. Played sports. Went to college. And after I got here, I started looking back and thinking, like, did I have any alcoholics, or anything in my immediate family, and I didn't. And when I first got here, that was one of my biggest challenges of many challenges, because of course I didn't want to be here. I wasn't like anybody else. I didn't have any of the problems that any of you fuckers had, I had never been to jail, never been in handcuffs. I'd always done everything I'd put my mind to. And lo and behold, as time passed, through struggling, going back and forth and coming to meetings, crash landed at the Temple City Alano Club with Louie and a bunch of other guys here, and grateful I found this meeting too. But, I found out real quick that, that was my first initial problem. I kept thinking about what everyone else was doing or wasn't doing, or what they had or what they didn't have, and realized that me was the problem, and for some time in my 20s, all of my 20s, I hadn't crossed the line until my early 30s, and my ego and self-centeredness and everything I had done just seemed to work out, and so with that huge ego, it took me a really long time to chop that down and to get through that alone, along with many other things. And after I started coming to meetings, I started thinking back to years before, when I knew I was on a trend of drinking that was gonna catch up to me and bite me in the ass at some point. Years before, and I would sit and think sometimes, like, man, how did I get to this point? So much time lost, because it didn't matter. But I remember back to times where, like, I wouldn't want to drink that next day or anything, because I wanted to be productive and do shit, or I had shit to do. So that was one of many factors that were lingering in the back of my mind of, how did this all happen? At what point did I get to, where I'm at? And, so kind of fast forward from, growing up in my 20s, when I didn't have any repercussions. I wasn't held accountable for anything with my drinking. And then after I turned 30, the next several years just progressively got worse and worse and worse. Man, it was a really tough road. And of course, I was the only one to be held accountable for it. And it took me quite some time to figure out and learn the several different things, character defects, things I was doing, things I wasn't doing, that got me to the point where I was sitting in AA meetings, before I had asked my sponsor, who's still my sponsor today, to be my sponsor. One thing that stuck with me for quite a while, when I first got here, that I was trying to figure out, in my 20s, and I felt bad about it when I had gotten here, because I work in the medical field. That was another huge factor for me. I'm sitting in AA meetings and I'm like, fuck, how the fuck did I get here? I was the guy that was scraping people off the sidewalk and anywhere and everywhere, taking them to the hospital. I was the the asshole and the dick that was like sitting in the back of the rig on the way to the ER thinking, man, why can't you just get your shit together, dude? To being that guy and being in and out of the ER and all kinds of things for a couple of years. So the resentment, frustration, sadness, and everything in between started to build up, and I tried to do some like introspection to look at myself and look at what had happened, and like I was saying, one of the big factors was one of my close friends that I worked with. He happened to work at a pharmacy, and he happened to ask me if I knew anyone that wanted to buy any pain medication, and I'm like, dude, that's not my thing. Weed, none of that was never my thing. I was always just like a beer guy. I was a drink shots on the weekend, that kind of stuff. And I don't want to get too far into it, but that was a big factor for me because, I wasn't taking them, but I was doing it for a monetary gain. And it took a lot of work with my sponsor to get past that, because when I got here, I realized that, I had fucked up a lot of other people, at that point, just because it was there in front of me, and I somehow got out and away from that and from doing that for several years, because there were people going to jail, getting in trouble, shit that happens, and and then I got with my daughter's my daughter's mother, and everything was cool. Her dad would drink all the time. We would drink almost every weekend, and then eventually, of course, I found myself drinking more and more and more. And then, there was before I started coming to meetings, there was a year's time where I thoroughly looked back at myself and, looked at how much I drank every single day in a 12-month period. And I was astonished, like, with myself, how I had made it that far for that long, and so after I started coming to meetings, I, of course, didn't want to go to rehab or get any help. I was going to try to figure it out, because that's what I had always, done in the past. And, little did I know then that was my biggest problem. I remember I was at Kaiser Outpatient Rehab. That was the first place I went to. Monday through Friday, like a 9-to-5 job, right? They have meetings and stuff during the day. And it was the first or second day that I was there. And this is when I was drinking for a little over a year, a lot, every single day, and still somehow making it to work, not getting in trouble, not getting pulled over. And it had gotten so bad, that I had started to get jaundice. And my eyes and my skin was on the way, but my eyes were yellow, like yellow. I remember coming out of a meeting, and we were going to lunch or something at the Kaiser thing, and I held the door for a lady, and she comes out, and then she looks over and she looks at me right in the eye, and she's like, "Holy shit, are you okay? Your eyes are fucking yellow." And in my mind, I didn't say anything to her, and I'm like, "No shit, bitch, why the fuck you think I'm here?" I'm like, "What the fuck, man?" And I was there for a couple of months. I got sober for a little bit. I did that back and forth for, God, more than a couple of years. I'd put some time together, and then something would happen, something wouldn't happen. And eventually, I figured out that what I was looking for was what was my problem. Okay, I knew I was making bad decisions. I know it was me, and I knew it was all of this. And I started thinking back to when I would listen at meetings, and everyone would have some kind of a reason why they were here, how they got here, and I didn't have that, I didn't have any of those things. And, eventually, and then I met my sponsor and started doing some work with him. And then eventually I figured out that I didn't need a reason. I didn't need to find a reason why it happened, what happened. I was simply the the kind of alcoholic that I don't need a reason to drink, and that was a little weight lifted off of my shoulders, because I was so fixated on that and trying to fix stuff, and in my 20s with my family and cousins, aunts and uncles, that's the kind of guy that I was. Everyone would come to me and for help with things, and it took me a long time to put different things together and try to figure out, what I needed to work on. And then, I realized that, I just needed to do what was asked of me and just to listen and try to be consistent as best as possible. Because I too, like many of you have shared, were my own worst enemy, man. It was really, really, really tough. And at the end, I realized, or I didn't realize, I remember I was at my old man's house, and I didn't have anywhere else to stay, anywhere else to go, and he's like, that's it. He's like, you came back again, yada yada. And I was like, fuck it then, I'm out of here. Just give me a bag with some of my shit, and I'll go. And I was like, what did I tell him? I'm a very resourceful dude. I'll figure it the fuck out. And I left with a backpack on my shoulder and intentionally made myself homeless. I was smart. Did that for like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. And yeah, some hiking trip that was, man. That was fucking miserable. I don't know. I walked from fucking Duarte, Monrovia to San Gabriel, Alhambra, and back and forth like every other like couple of days. I don't know how I did it, but it doesn't matter, because eventually I ended up back at the Alano Club, and I was still drinking, and the guys that were working behind the counter in the front there were some days that'd be like, hey man, can't come and hang out, you can't be here if you're drinking, that, and then one night I went back to a meeting, and my now sponsor showed up, and he asked me a couple of things, and I had realized a lot because I had a lot of time to think, and I was just kind of by myself, and I had heard people talk about the gift of desperation, and man, when I talked to my sponsor that night, he I was, sleeping wherever I could and wherever, I don't know, it didn't, matter. I didn't have anywhere to go at that point. So, he took me to his house, crashed there for a couple of nights, and that was like the big turning point from some of the conversations and talks that we had. And then eventually I started doing the steps like I had heard, time and time again, man. And I kept keeping myself from that, like it was idiotic shit. Like, what do you mean the answer's always gonna be no, and then again, that was just my ego, pride, and everything in between that had me suffering for so long, man. And now, life is great. Life, it's not always great. Life is good, and it's especially good because I've learned endless things from this program. And for me, when I keep God, the program, and working with other alcoholics at the top of my priority list, somehow I stay sober every day. Because, after I was out walking around on the streets and shit, there was a couple times I ended up in the hospital. I don't even remember what had happened, and even the doctors are like, damn, man, how are you still like kicking, and like, I don't know, but a handful of things happened, and I'm so blessed for those today, because at that point I really started to be like, okay, I knew I needed to let go. I needed to listen. I knew I needed to get into action. I knew I needed to do the things that everyone had been saying. And when I started doing those, my life started getting better, little by little. And I started learning a lot more about myself. And I also learned that taking, alcohol out of the equation was not my problem. I was my problem. And I say that a lot, when I introduce myself at meetings, because that's it's so true for me, and it took me a while to realize that. But I used to get so frustrated because I'm like, man, I can't make it a choice. I don't have any choices. And what I realized was all I needed to do at the beginning was make a decision to do all of these things. And, if the two things that I could do that no one else could take away from me would be my attitude and my work ethic. If I choose to not screw over someone today and not be an asshole and do the right thing, that's all on me. And then asking, my higher power for help and working with other people and my sponsor, coming to meetings, listening, talking, sharing. It took several different things for me to get to the point that I'm at today, because I was so far stuck in self for such a long time that a lot of the times I was drinking, I didn't even want to be drinking, and the fuckets came out of nowhere, and next thing you know, I'm changed my sobriety date again. So I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for letting me share. I love seeing all of you guys. An awesome meeting. Thank you. Treasurer. What's up, John?
Thanks, Joey.
Thanks, John.
What's up? John Alcoholic.
Damn, that went by fast.
Coffee, cake, church, rent, books, literature. We got literature for anybody who needs it, chips and all that stuff. Hospitals and institutions.
I know.
Thank you. What's the topic?
What's the topic? Oh yeah, the topic. What was I gonna make the topic? Let's see. So the topic for this evening. Let's make it something different than I haven't heard before. Let's do. Let's make the topic like, when did you realize that you were an alcoholic and make a decision to start coming to meetings, and what happened from there? I know it's normally like honesty or something, but
that's perfect for me. Victor, alcoholic.
Victor.
Perfect topic. Thank you for your share.
Thank you,
I
buddy.
appreciate it. And congratulations to all the chip takers. It's a very, very special day for you guys. I remember it. I get chills when I see you guys walk up here. 30 days, 60 days is fucking amazing. I remember, and back to your topic, the first day or why I came in here, right? And the first day. So at that point, let's start off with, I'm a rethread. I've been here, I've been in these rooms, I know the routine, I know how to get through these rooms. How's that sound? Because I'm a fucking weaseling, conniving, lying bastard. How's that? And an alcoholic. So, the whole bag. And I came in here at a point where I had nothing. I probably had the clothes on my back. I was living with my sister because I had just basically separated maybe a couple of months ago from my family, from my ex currently, because it wasn't the first, it wasn't the third, it wasn't something that I had just happened between me and her. It was just something that I kept on doing, which was damaging myself, my family, and her because of my career of alcoholism. And at this point, it was like we had to separate. It was just it got very ugly. So anyways, back to why I came here. I came here because I had just lost my job. I had just lost my family. I had nothing else. I had a whole fucking 8-hour day of doing jack shit. of watching fucking Jerry Springer and all this other bullshit on TV. And while I'm doing that, all that kind of just I mind fuck myself because I'm thinking of where I could have done better, right? Because me as the alcoholic that I am, I always thought that I could always fix it, you know, and I could get through it. And I think it's been clearly stated here that I always said I'll figure it out, and I never asked for help. So when I came in here on a Tuesday night, and it was a co-ed meeting, and it was great. I met a gentleman I haven't seen him for a bit, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he's doing well. And he recommended this fucking meeting. And I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll give it a try. I have nothing else to do, right? I mean, this is my second day at a meeting. I might as well just go balls deep, right? And so I came in here, and ever since then, I've been greeted by several people that have been, great. And ever since then, I've been here, and I've stuck it. I stuck it out. So I'm very thankful for this meeting because I can honestly say that it has saved my life. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, brother.